The village elders warned her that the spirits in these mangroves never sleep, but hunger is a much louder ghost. To feed her children, this single mother must paddle deep into the forbidden saltwater labyrinths of the delta. She is risking a centuries-old curse for the sake of her children. In the small fishing village pressed against the edge of the delta coast, morning arrived without the usual chorus of nets dragging across wood. The air felt heavy, as though even the wind was conserving strength. Amara sat outside her mud house, staring at an empty clay pot turned upside down in the dust. Inside, her two children still slept, their thin bodies curled together for warmth. The night before, she had given them the last handful of gari soaked in water. There was nothing left. Once, the fishermen returned at sunrise with laughter and heavy baskets, but the waters near the village had grown strangely barren. The elders said the spirits had shifted the fish away, offended by some forgotten transgression. They said the sacred mangroves beyond the eastern bend were restless. No one had entered those waters in generations. The mangroves were not merely trees, they were guardians of old paths, witnesses to broken promises, keepers of balance. When her son stepped outside and asked quietly, "Mama, will we eat today?" something inside Amara tightened. It was not anger, it was not even fear, it was a decision forming. By afternoon, she stood before the elders beneath the great Iroko tree. Their faces were lined with both wisdom and warning. They reminded her of the curse, of the fishermen who once ventured too far and returned with eyes that no longer recognized their own families. They told her some boundaries exist for protection, not punishment. She listened, respectful but unmoved. "Hunger does not wait for permission," she said softly. "If the spirits demand something, let them demand it from me." Before dawn the next morning, she pushed her narrow wooden canoe into the water. Mist hovered low over the delta, blurring the line between sky and tide. The moment her paddle caught into the forbidden side, the air shifted. The birds fell silent. Even the water seemed thicker, darker, like oil reflecting a distorted sky. The mangrove roots rose around her like twisted fingers clawing out of the earth. They tangled above and below the surface, forming a maze of narrow channels. Every dip of her paddle echoed farther than it should have. She felt watched, not by eyes exactly, but by memory itself. The elders had said the spirits never sleep. In this place, she believed it. She paddled deeper. The village disappeared behind layers of roots and mist. The smell of salt mixed with wet earth and something metallic, ancient. A splash echoed somewhere to her left. She did not turn. Fear feeds on attention. Then she saw them. Beneath the surface, silver bodies flickered like scattered coins. Fish, dozens, maybe hundreds, moving lazily in the dark water. Too many, far more than she had seen in months. Her hands trembled as she lowered her net. For a moment, there was only stillness. Then the rope jerked violently. The water churned. She pulled with every ounce of strength in her body. The net grew heavy, impossibly heavy, dragging against the side of the canoe. When it finally brought the surface, it overflowed with fish, their scales catching the dim light like shattered mirrors. Relief surged through her chest so suddenly it almost hurt. And then she heard it. Payment. The word did not travel through the air. It seemed to rise from the water itself, vibrating against her ribs. The sky darkened without warning. Clouds rolled in unnaturally fast, swallowing the pale morning light. Wind tore through the mangroves, bending branches that had stood firm for decades. The canoe rocked violently. Waves slapped against its sides. Thunder cracked so close it felt like the sky splitting open. "Leave it," the whisper came again, layered now with many voices. The net, heavy with fish, began to slide toward the edge. If she let go, the canoe would steady. She could escape quickly. But letting go meant returning to the empty pot. It meant her children's hollow eyes. "No," she breathed, gripping the rope until her palms burned. Lightning flashed, illuminating the water beneath her. For a split second, she saw a massive shadow circling below, slow and deliberate. Not fish, not driftwood, something older. The canoe flipped.
Cold water swallowed her whole, salt invaded her mouth and nose, the world became dark and weightless. Yet her hands refused to release the net. Something brushed against her leg, smooth, intentional. The whispers grew louder, overlapping in a chorus of warning and demand. Tradition. Debt. Return what is not yours. Her lungs screamed for air, her strength began to fade. And then, through the chaos, she heard her daughter's voice, clear and impossibly near. "Mama!" The sound cut through the darkness. Not imagined, not memory, it was sharp with need. Amara kicked upward with the last of her strength, dragging the net behind her. She broke the surface, gasping. The storm vanished instantly. No thunder, no wind. The water lay flat and calm as glass. Her canoe floated a short distance away, upright as if it had never overturned. She pulled herself back in, shaking, soaked, alive. The net was still full. The mangrove stood silent, watching. When she emerged from the mist at sunrise, the villagers gathered at the shore in stunned silence. Children ran first, then the women. The elders followed more slowly. Her canoe scraped against sand, heavy with more fish than anyone had seen in a season. The eldest elder approached her. "What did it take?" he asked quietly. She held his gaze. She replied, "Nothing." But something in her eyes unsettled him. That night, the village ate until laughter replaced worry. Smoke rose from cooking fires. For the first time in weeks, the air carried the scent of food instead of fear. Yet, long after her children fell asleep, Amara sat outside her hut, staring toward the dark outline of the mangroves. The wind carried a faint whisper across the water. Not angry, not finished. In the still pool beside her canoe, her reflection moved a fraction of a second slower than she did. In the Delta Coast, survival is always a bargain, and the spirits never truly sleep.